AI technology is moving incredibly fast, so too fast to be honest. And the challenging is that data and AI governance are not keeping pace. The closer you are to your data, the more you can trust it. The further away you are from the data puts a big risk on all of the business because it generates cost. Well, for every organisation, including Ericsson, data is the fuel for growth because you need data to run your business. And how you use the data to develop your own products and services for your customers. And you can actually trust the agent. What the agent is saying can be trusted. The biggest challenge is validation on trusted agentic and AI output. That's the challenge the industry's got. You can't walk away thinking that everything that it says is going to be true. The market is changing when it comes to data catalogs. They have to be a knowledge engine where they have master data, metadata, lineage, quality. But the bit at the end is the most important part in an agentic world, which is context. You need to automate context. You need to have a semantic data model. You need to have the intelligence in the knowledge catalog that the agent can understand and trust it. And I can trust the agent output. You need to automate the agentic output through validation. Whoever controls the data can also control the truth and the untruth. No longer is it human in the loop, Yuri. You need to ensure it's human in command.
Hi everyone, this is Yuri from Dataforest, and it means that today we record another amazing episode of our podcast, Empower the Data, where the business begins with data and AI leads the way. And today, I'm not scared from the word I'm going to use for our guest. Today, we have exceptional guest. His name is William McCann Murphy. Yay! Big round of applause. For those people who doesn't know, he's a really big deal in a data world, in one of the biggest player on the market. I'm not going to say his company right now because he's going to tell us a little bit more about his position, about himself, and about his company. And I'm pretty sure that today we're going to have an amazing and very interesting conversation. So, William, say hi to our guests.
Hello, everyone. Hi. Thank you very much for the introduction, Yuri. Much appreciated. Wow. Thank you very much.
Yeah. As I said, I'm just going to mention your position. So, William is a Strategic Data Authority Director. And just from his position, I can say he's not just a regular data guy from the data science team. William, can you please tell us a little bit more about your company, your role, and what exactly you do?
Wow, who do I work for? I work for Ericsson. They're a global telecommunications technology company. We provide networks, we provide cloud software and services, we provide managed services networks, and that's where I work, which is an outsourced operation where we optimize customer networks. What an amazing place to work, though. My role is I'm the head of the Data Authority, or you call it the Strategic Data Authority Director. Mm-hmm. And my job is like a data officer. I drive the data strategy, the data maturity. I work with the business in 3 areas. Analytics, don't forget analytics. AI, as we know, is ever present, and also in the automation space. And my job is to work with the consumers of the business, the strategic stakeholders, and work with Ericsson as a global organization to deploy data-related services to our consumers and to our customers. It's an amazing space to work in.
Yeah. And actually why I'm so excited to having you here, and because I had a previous, but the first experience with Ericsson in my life when I got the first cell phone. That was about, not at 30, but I would say 25 years ago. Yeah. And since the time, I know that name. And that's why I'm personally very excited to have you here. So, and because today we're going to talk about the data a lot, I just really interesting because I'm sure that in your company, data plays kind of crucial role. But what makes your company different and help your company to stand out from the competitors? What's your unique edge?
Let's look at Ericsson as a global organization. Where do we stand out there? We enable global connectivity, right? 3G, 4G, 5G, and also potentially 6G when it comes along. We support the communication service providers in building out network infrastructure across the globe. Yeah. And we also try to drive the industry towards 5G monetization. There's a lot of talk about value in mobile networks, about cloud native networks, how we can deploy them at scale, and also a really hot topic, automation and AI driven operations, right? And we work in managed services networks. We manage the networks of most of the large scale CSPs across the globe. And we're there to help them automate their networks. We're there to monetize their networks. And we're there to get the best value from data, though. But we also have to think about two aspects of that data piece: compliance, constantly changing laws and regulations around the globe, right? Data consent and rights of use, really important, not just for PII related data. And also demonstrating how we can create value in the use of data, because we have to use our CSP's data to manage their networks, and they have to trust us. Trust is so important.
Yeah. And if we're talking about the data, in a simple term, if you would rate from 1 to 10, how the data important for all internal processes in Ericsson?
Well, for every organization, including Ericsson, data is the fuel for growth. I've been involved in data for over 30 years, right? Yeah, but data is the fuel for growth, especially not just for AI though, but for analytics and automation, trusting in the data and how you want to use it. So it's important for two aspects: enterprise, how you run your business, yeah, because you need data to run your business, and how you use the data to develop your own products and services for your customers. So you need to have both hats on. As a data officer, as a strategic data authority director, enterprise needs, senior stakeholders, how to run your business, and product and service and solution needs, how you can support your customers. You need to have that hat on all the time. You need to think about compliance. But you need to think more, and my role as a business enablement officer, how do you get the best value from data? It's about enablement, it's about value, and it's about using it for where your business can see the value best.
Okay, thank you for the answer. I really appreciate it. And may I ask you, talking about the data, which the biggest data challenge you had in your company?
I think you need to look at the present though. And I would say that the closer you are to your data, the more you can trust it. The further away you are from the data puts a big risk on all of the business because it generates cost. So we're ingesting CSPs, communication service providers' data into our network, right? We don't own that data. We manage it on their behalf. But you have to get close to it though, because otherwise data quality become a fundamental issue in how you're using that data for analytics, especially looking at the conversational piece using agentic, AI and automation, right? So the key challenge is getting close to the data and the data quality on the profiling aspect, as well as how you're managing critical data elements. Otherwise, it has a massive knock-on impact all the way around the business. But not all data is the same though, Yuri. Yeah, of all the data assets you're managing in your business, some is more important than others. And that's why you have to invest your time and effort where the value needs to be realized and where quality is an issue.
And the next question directly coming from the previous one. And how do you, even like from your answer, how do you ensure the data quality? What do you do for that?
Oh, how do you ensure data quality? That's why you have to influence the data source, right? And the way we do that is we implemented a data operating model in our business. A data operating model is made up of policy, right? It's made up of the competence of the people and in terms of the domains. We have a data domain-based approach. So you need to understand the data landscape in your organization, get your arms around the data. Really important, right? You need to understand the processes you have to deploy to support that. And then you have to think about how you govern that data. And there's a lot of discussion around data stewardship. But data stewardship and data domain leads need to be heavily engaged in the business, working with the system owners, working with the data source owners, and driving the quality where it matters most though. You need to have a data operating model. It gives you clear role responsibilities of how you manage and govern data. And managing and govern data are two different things though. They're very different. Managing is about the end-to-end life cycle from source, ingestion, and the quality of that source, to how you govern it and the KPIs around data quality. And the 6 dimensions around data quality: accuracy, completeness, relevancy. So you need to make sure that you understand which of those dimensions are relevant for your business and having metrics in place. And one other key aspect of that as well, Uri, is that there's one thing saying data quality is important now, but when you work in a real-time environment and it's agentic based, and there's a data quality issue, and an agent's got to make a decision, you need to, if you find a data quality related issue with a critical data element, you need to manage it there and then and ingest it into your IT management system, assign it to the right teams based on impact, and fix it. You need to move from monitoring, which is my KQI has gone south, to observability, understanding why it went south and how you can fix it. Otherwise, you're passive and you need to be proactive in data quality.
Okay, that's actually pretty detailed answer. Thank you for that. And may I ask, like, okay, we got a great data. We know how to work with that.
Yeah.
And after that, we're getting great results from there. How
Yeah.
do you measure the impact of the data for your company's performance?
How do you measure? Do you know what? I've actually written down a few things. Think about it. How do you measure it? Oh my God! All of your C-suite, right? All of the execs in the LT are always asking you about how you measure the quality and the value of data. So there's about business KPIs, about value realization. So identifying the critical data assets in your business, which are the crown jewels, and how they're being managed. Data coverage and adoption is another way of measuring it. So if you look at your whole end-to-end data landscape, right, and you need to get your arms around it this way, how much coverage have we got in terms of putting that under control, governance, compliance, and value? Yeah, data quality and trust. Let's look at the agentic space. Agents need to have trusted data. But what do we mean by trusted data? It's about context. So data quality is important at the front end to make sure that you're using the right data. But agents need context. They need understanding of that data. So you need to be able to validate that the data is of the right business context. You need to measure it in terms of evals. Governance and control. How do you demonstrate that you're fully compliant? Having a risk management process on the data side of the house and on the AI side of the house. And lastly, capability and operating model. Have you got an operating model in your business that demonstrates that you have ownership of the data from domains to stewards, and it's being governed effectively? So there's 5 key areas that you need to look at.
Okay, that's a great answer, actually. And if we're talking about the data usage, like nowadays, as a basically data company from our side, we know that a lot of people implement AI core functionality to analyze the data and make their processes more streamlined and more efficient. And from your personal perspective, where do you see the biggest opportunities for AI to improve the internal processes in the companies?
AI data quality or AI data profiling, right? The semantic analysis of where to invest your time, because you need to understand our data is huge, it's enormous, it's massive.
Oh,
The
yeah.
volume is too large from a global perspective. And you need the ability of AI to tell you where to do the profiling aspect, which is the statistical analysis of the data to say, actually, critical data elements, these are the weaknesses in the data. These are the dimensions you have to look at. Then help you automate that to create a KQI with automated monitoring and observability. Let's think about interoperability and data mapping, which is an AI-powered data catalog, which is the old school, moving to an AI-powered knowledge catalog. The market is changing when it comes to data catalogs. They have to be a knowledge engine where they have master data, metadata, lineage, quality. But the bit at the end is the most important part in an agentic world, which is context. You need to automate context. You need to have a semantic data model. You need to have the intelligence in the knowledge catalog that the agent can understand and trust it. And I can trust the agent output. You need to automate the agentic output through validation. Security and access control. Yeah, looking at how you do this in your business in terms of a user profiling. Yeah, internal and external in terms of how you do this.
Yeah.
Data lineage and auditability. Lineage might sound a bit boring, but it's not. It's really important though, as data is transformed across your organization, you need to help and use AI to show you how the lineage works, and you can trust the lineage in terms of its source. Bias detection and mitigation. And what we're using AI for as well is we've automated the AI risk assessment according to the EU Data Act and the EU AI Act. So we're doing a risk assessment on AI models we're deploying in the business. You need to automate that because it's incredibly complex.
Okay, and if we're talking about the data, as you mentioned before, you can trust. That's still definitely, first of all, going to be a understanding of what are you working with in your head, in your vision of the business, and also that's supposed to be some people who's overseeing that data. And how do you see the cooperation of AI integrations and humans in the loop who control all that process?
Well, AI technology is moving incredibly fast, so too fast, to be honest.
Oh, yeah.
We have to keep up pace with that, Yuri. The reality is you need to keep up pace with this. And the challenging is that data and AI governance are not keeping pace. So there's one thing having data governance and having AI governance, but you need to integrate them now. or you need to understand where they overlap. So you need to bring the teams together so you're incorporating into the AI model lifecycle process, data and AI governance. And it's not just about risk assessment now. What you need to be able to do is demonstrate to the business where the most value is in using the data, where the most value is in using the AI model or AI asset, and how do you ensure that compliance and risk are being managed though. You need to start thinking about how you integrate them in your business. And integration is, the other step of integration is about this operating model. I mentioned earlier on about data operating model, role, responsibilities, policy, process, governance. You need to think the same when it comes to AI governance though. Yeah, they need an operating model, but they need to be working together on how you actually govern this across the business. Do not work in silos though.
If we're talking about the AI governance, that's a lot of people who kind of scared of that, especially if we're talking about the healthcare industry. And what do you think about that?
Don't be scared of it though. I mean, governance has got a bureaucratic name to it, right? It sounds very bureaucratic. Oh, laws, rules, regulations. It's overly labor intensive. It doesn't have to be though. What we're doing is we're changing the mentality and the mindset that governance is about business enablement, right? It's about ensuring compliance, because you can't get away from compliance, really. You've always got to comprehend and be compliant with laws and regulations across the globe, and they're always changing in data and AI. You've got to make sure that's in place. But you've also got to demonstrate the business enablement part. Because if we as data officers or we as strategic data authority don't demonstrate the value part, the business enablement part, we'll be seen as not adding any value to the business, and we're bureaucratic. We need to think differently. We need to keep pace with the time. We need to be about business enablement, and we need to show value to our stakeholders. And another key thing is get close to your consumers of the data though. The further are you away from the data, as I mentioned earlier on, the less you can trust it. The further away you are from your consumers of the data, the less you understand the business challenges you've got. Work very closely with them though.
Okay, that's actually a very interesting point of view. Thank you for sharing. And if we're talking about the AI integration nowadays, you already mentioned there's very important for any type of companies. And my question is, because I attend a lot of conferences last year, and everywhere from every single stage, I heard AI, AI, AI. I don't know, maybe if not thousands, but hundreds of times. And some companies, they're talking about the AI or they're implementing AI just because they want to have AI, just somewhere in the name of the company, somewhere in some internal processes, but they don't use AI. They don't know the full capability of AI. They just want to stay on top of that, on trend, and have all this AI things involved. What do you think about that approach, and how do you think that AI gonna change the business of the companies who really implemented the AI functionality nowadays?
I would say that AI sprawl is happening all over the place. You need to move from hype to operational impact, right? And that's not me rubbishing AI, because I mean AI is going to create such a seismic change like no other technology. It's happening today. But rather than focus on the technology, you have to focus on the business outcome you're trying to achieve. What do you want to do there? Because there's a lot of cost in deploying agents in the business, loads of costs. There's a lot of cost in deploying hyperscaler third-party AI models, loads of cost. But you have to think about really, where does the business want to go? What gap or what problem or what opportunity do you want to use AI for? And where's the best fit? You need to embrace this with an open mind though, but you need to be realistic though, because none of this is for free. It costs money to manage this in the business. So you got to go in with being curious, yeah? And you got to also be able to trust the output. That's why I said earlier on about data quality. Data quality, that's old school. That's table stake. That needs to be done. But business context, evals, validation for the model to understand the data, that's the next stage though. So you need to think about business outcome, not about the tool, and have people that are curious, people that are trying to explore what's right for the business and where best to deploy enterprise AI within your business to run your business, and product and services AI towards your customers. And actually treat it as a product though. Think of it as like a product that's got to have a return on its investment. Do a bit of innovation, yeah, fail fast, right? learn faster. But please, you need to start thinking about your organization in terms of having strategic levers of where you want to go with AI, rather than just believing that it's going to fix everything, because it's not.
That's actually a funny story, and I had that in one conversation at the podcast. There was a company where the very high C-level officer said, like, refused the offer to implement AI because he didn't see the value of that. And later on, he came back with a request to his CTO, like, they need AI. And when on the question, like, what exactly you mean by we need AI? He said, I don't know. I've been playing golf with my friends. They all were talking about AI. I had nothing to say. I feel very stupid, very silly, and I don't want to have this feeling again. So you need to implement AI. So next time I'll have something to tell them. And for me, that was mind blowing. So the person wants to have AI just because everybody was talking about AI around him, but not because he see the value in it.
Do you know what? I wrote something down here, right? I want to read it out, right? So I've got something beside me that I wrote down earlier, just thinking about this. Thinking about the type of question you may ask. And it says, we have to move to collect more data to justify a value-backed approach. Because you can collect data all you want, right? But you need to understand how you want to use it and demonstrating an ROI and how you want to apply data. As I said, data is the fuel for growth. But then you have to qualify how you want to use it for AI. AI is an amazing opportunity, though. The power behind it, the capability behind it is incredible, right? But that's why you need to think about having data professionals and AI professionals that can be able to be up to meet the challenge, because it's a constantly changing landscape. But it's an amazing opportunity, though. Is it a threat? It is in a few areas around the business and organizations that don't look at it strategically, operationally, but it is an opportunity now.
Talking about the opportunities, where do you see the biggest opportunity for AI? Is that something, let's say, that can help you to reduce the repetitive tasks that time consuming in your business, or there's something else? What do you think can be fixed? That's something that will help you to fix the biggest problems by using AI.
Scale, really. If you think of the size and the volume of data that we're managing in the business, right, the complexities of global mobile networks, human intervention in managing that scale, especially we talked earlier on about the quality aspect of ingestion, that's a challenge. And the other area that can help us a lot is that the interpretation of, we deal with a lot of customers, right? And we've got contracts with the customers. And within those contracts, there is, we call it contract metadata, which is consent, right? So the customer says you can do X with the data, but not Y with the data. You can do X with AI, but not Y with AI. So we need a way of automating that. So capturing the contract metadata and translating into compliance for a service delivery organization. That's the intelligence. So there's a certain level of validation that's required from the AI. But even more so, when you work in an organization like ours, and there's constantly changing laws and regulations around the globe, not just the EU AI Act or Data Act, but all over the world. The AI Acts are changing all the time. And we have to keep up to date with that. So we need AI to help us interpret the changes globally and advise us of the changes we have to consider. Because not all the changes in these acts you have to deploy. So AI can help us on contract metadata, it can help us on laws and regulations around the globe, and it can help us with the controls and also assessing the controls. I mentioned earlier on what we've done already. We've automated the EU AI Act, the data part, to the AI risk assessment. So we deploy models in our business. We've automated that using AI. It's looked at the act, it's looked at the conditions, it's looked at the controls, it's looked at all the risk elements, all the key risk areas that are provided by MIT, and it's been able to assess and give us potential mitigation or pass or fail. You need that though, because it's incredibly complex. So managing large-scale volume data in a compliant, trustworthy way and providing intelligence. I haven't mentioned this piece though. Data at the bottom of the pyramid, data becomes information, right? Becomes knowledge, becomes wisdom. Data is dumb. It's done for agents, right? It can help us interpret data into information and knowledge, which is more important.
That actually sounds really great. I think I'm going to take it as a quote.
Oh my
The
God.
way of the data from the bottom to the top. That sounds really cool. Thank you. And yeah, we're definitely seeing like AI evolutionizing nowadays. And just, I remember, like, I think that was already like 4 years ago. Yeah, probably 4 years. And when they just introduced Chat GPT to the public, and I remember I was playing with it the first time, and I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
can you just write an email in a business tone or in some friendly tone or some silly tone, and it was giving me different types of emails on the same topic, and I was like, wow, that's so cool. And after that, 4 years later, we see like such a tool as a Claude that can help you to build a full, I don't know, not even tools, but applications, platforms. Maybe they're not that clean like we want to, but they're already much, much higher level and much more complicated than it was even 6 months ago, year, 2 years, of course. And my next question to you
Yeah.
is, where do you see AI in the next, let's say, 5, maybe 10 years, and how AI will transform the industries and companies like yours?
Well, let's give you another example then in terms of where if you look at analytics, traditional analytics, which are dashboards and reports, pretty dumb. Yeah, one-way conversation. You can't really have a conversation with it because it's a dashboard and report you look at and it doesn't tell you anything other than the visuals on the screen. It's moving into the conversational space where you're having a conversation with the agent, asking about the data, right? Asking about the chart, asking about what's been presented. It can be used within the business and the enterprise side of this. It can be used by your customers. So the conversational agentic space is going to happen. It's happening today with some of the key vendors out there. But there are some challenges with that, though. The challenges with that is that you need to be able to trust the output. You need to be able to trust that what the new dashboard and report is saying is it can be trusted by senior stakeholders, by your customers, and that conversation you're having is dependent on the quality of the data and the context and the semantic layer that sits behind it. The other area in terms of where AI is going is it's actually adding, how should we say, intelligence to support humans. So I treat it this way. If I look at humans in terms of the way we worked in the past, and I look at the combination of AI, 1 + 1 = 3. The intelligence that sits across the top with the complementary output and input from AI is monumental, but you need the ability to trust it. You need the ability to make sure that you can trust the prompts, the context, the engineering that sits behind it. You can actually trust the agent. What the agent is saying can be trusted. The biggest challenge is validation on trusted agentic and AI output. That's the challenge the industry's got. You can't walk away thinking that everything that it says is going to be true. Whoever this is a good point here. Whoever controls the data can also control the truth and the untruth.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is
So,
how it works with propaganda.
well, yeah, provided it has meaning, provided the data can be trusted and you have a single source of truth. That's the other thing I should have mentioned earlier on in terms of data. All these multiple sources of ingest that's coming from various third parties, customers, internal enterprise data. You need a single source of truth, though, that you can trust, that you know is one version of the truth in terms of the consolidated data end-to-end ecosystem. What's going to happen in 5 to 10 years? There'll be loads more automations. In our space, we're looking at automating networks, end-to-end processes, high-value scenarios that we can automate fault management in the network, performance management, change management, incident and event management. They can automate this, working with the agents that can make decisions, that we can put this oversight. No longer is it human in the loop, Yuri. We need to ensure it's human in command. It's actually directing the agent so that validation can be done at the right level. The agent can be trusted to do X, but not Y. The human needs to be involved. This is a collaboration. 1 + 1 = 3.
Yeah, actually, I already had a conversation with another guest about this math. And for some people, when you say that 1 + 1 = 3, they look at you like an idiot. But I totally understand what exactly we're
Amazing.
talking about. And if you combine those two parts in one, you're definitely going to get three, but not two.
Yeah, human and machine. And I'm seeing it today. People are saying, wow. But please, we need to be curious though. You need to prompt, you need to direct, you need to guide, you need to have human in command, you need to have oversight, and you need to collaborate on this. It requires different skills though. Business translation. It requires people that that are more skilled in different ways to be able to communicate with AI on value translation and output, not on technology. This is not a technology discussion. This is a business-led translation discussion of how to use technology to achieve specific business outcomes. Because something else will come along. AGI, ASI, there'll be something else when it comes to AI. Human-led, machine-supported, not the other way around.
Yeah, 100%. And one more question, like in continue like of our conversation regarding clean data and trustable data. If let's say you would have access to the clean, structured data, how do you think would you act differently in your business if you know 100% that all the data that you have 100% truth and you don't have to check it, and if you can rely on the data, how would you act?
I would categorize it. Not every aspect of data has got the same level of value. Right? You look at it's like an ocean, right? There's different fish in the ocean. There's some big fish and there's some fish that you want to catch. Same when it comes to data. As I said before, data costs you money. I know we say, well, okay, we're ingesting data. It's very cheap these days. No, the life cycle, end-to-end life cycle of data has cost. Compliance cost, usage cost, retention, destruction cost. So I would say that you need to look for the crown jewels in your data that you can help innovate and work with the people who want to drive value in the use of that data. But always being compliant though. You need to have your compliance hat on. So look at the data you're using in your business, working with your third parties, working with your customers, and demonstrate where you believe the most value can be realized. Spend time on that though. Managing this ocean of data, massive. Let's try and focus on the areas where we think will drive the most value or reduce costs. Yeah? And we have to have this mindset of where are we driving value for the business? What makes more sense? But as I said, two key areas. You must always be compliant, which just sounds like governing, a bit bureaucratic, but you can't. You must always ensure that, yeah? And then you need to keep your business enablement hat on, always. Okay, we have more data. It's super clean. So what? Ask the so what question now. Oh, so what then? What are we going to do with it? Where do we drive value? And get close to your stakeholders because the strategy changes a lot. The market changes a lot, and get close to your consumers and your customers because the closer you are to all of them, the more you can unlock the value from this jewel or the fuel for growth, which is data.
That's great. I mean, I really enjoy your answers, to be honest.
It's a lot of years. I've also been involved in AI for a long time as well and seen how that's evolved and see how it's evolving. But just be curious though. Yeah, less of the tech, more business savvy. Tech's important. It rocks and rolls. That gets us where we want to get to. But have a business discussion and then see how you can enable the tech to support your business outcomes. And data is no different. AI is no different. Analytics is no different. The automation piece. Automation is quite an important subject. How can we automate what we do? Well, if you can't trust the data, it's pretty tricky. How do we move into the agentic space? If you can't trust the data, then the agents will make the wrong decision. They won't be able to automate what you want to do. And how do you have a conversation with analytics if you don't put the controls and the quality around how you do in using data? Then it's not going to fly. There are opportunities there, though. There's loads of opportunities there.
It's 100%. That's a lot of opportunities, and I totally agree about that. I would say not even 100, but 200%. I really, really enjoy this conversation, but unfortunately, slowly but surely, we're running out of time. And I actually had tons of questions to you, but I'm going to ask just one. That's already a small tradition in our podcast. This is final statement from our guest to our listeners. If you would say something to our listeners, I don't know, probably inspire them or give them some food for their brains, what would it be? What's the final statement from you, William?
What gee whiz. I mean, the world is changing faster than ever before, right? And I said before, AI is seismic though. It's a seismic change though. But what I'd recommend to people out there in the data and the AI world, be part of that change though. Don't just sit back, right? influence the change, get involved, understand how you can use data. And I use the term AAA, analytics, design, automation in your business, and demonstrate the impact you can make. Because if you don't know, AI is coming, yeah? It's here. You need to embrace it. But you also need to challenge how you want to work it. Be part of the change, though. Because that's what life is all about. And that's what work is about, though. And it's exciting, and it's an exciting time. I love working in data. I love being challenged with AAA. But please continue to be curious, though. You can't trust everything you see and everything you use when it comes to this space, because you have to demonstrate confidence to your senior stakeholders in the LT and the executive team. Yeah? But keep being curious, though, and learn. Keep learning, because it's an amazing space to work in.
That's absolutely fantastic statement in the end. All right, William, thank you so much for finding the time for this podcast. I know that we discussed it a few months before we found that spot in your schedule, and I'm really, really excited that I had you as a guest. For our listeners, guys, that was Empower the Data, where the business begins with data and AI leads the way. And that was William McCann Murphy. Yay!
Thank you, Yuri. Thanks for listening, Yuri. And thanks for actually inviting me to this, though, yeah? Because it is a massive subject, but it's so important in today's working environment. But thank you very much for inviting me.
Yeah. Thank you so much one more time. For our listeners, guys, we're going to post this podcast very soon. If you want to learn a little bit more about Ericsson, what they do, and about William, the link to their company profile and his profile will be in the description. So feel free to do that. Thank you for staying with us. Have a great day, and ciao for now. Bye-bye.